Nice to have you with us on this afternoon show. Let's say hello to... He called yesterday and we got disconnected, so he's back aboard. Mike in South Carolina. Mikey, welcome. How are you today?
Well, that was poorly produced by Mike in South Carolina. My Bluetooth kicked in. I'm sorry. I walked by the car. It was, but I'm back. Your last caller made a great point. That's kind of what I was going with yesterday, is that you were saying there was no defense played in this game, and New England's defense is subpar. I'll give you that, Chris. I saw that when my Dolphins let them up on a Monday night. This isn't a great New England defense. They've had injuries, whatever. But the balls, both quarterbacks are putting the ball on the money, Russo. Both of them. It was beautiful. We're talking over 800 yards of passing, and this was not, Scrubville out there. Philadelphia's defense looked excellent against Atlanta.
Was there any pass rush in this game?
Well, I mean, the good blocking, Chris. Philly looked great. Philly looked great in that pass rush against Minnesota, Chris. They looked dang good against a good Viking team. That's all I'm saying.
Was Deacon Jones out there? They must have missed him.
Well, there's no who. Come on, Deacon Jones. I'm not saying that, Chris. And another point that I want to make, Chris, is that my wife, even when they were going for two, at the early part of the game, all right, when they were going for two, my wife's like, "Why are they doing that?" When Philly did that. Why are they going for two?
That was a mistake. He was up 15-3.
Yeah. Well, you know how big a mistake that was?
He was almost costing the game. They would have tied it.
My wife, we watched the game, and when they kicked that field goal to go up by 8, my wife said the game would be over right now if they kicked that extra point. It'd be 9.
That's a good point. Very good point.
I mean, this is my wife saying this, Chris. This isn't somebody that doesn't really knows. I don't know what these guys. It's like they brain hemorrhage at certain points.
This is not the day to pick on Peterson. He just beat Bellichick. He was aggressive with his play calling.
He was great. Yeah, I'm just saying that they're going to make some mistakes. I'm not picking on Peterson. Did a fine job. I mean and you are where you're spot on. Two last points where I agree with you 100%. 4th and 3. That's the game. That is the game.
No
right
question.
There,
anybody who argues that.
I said, don't punt. I was saying, please don't punt.
No, you had to go for it. You had to go for it.
You had to, and they made a great call. And let me tell you what. Don't say nobody wouldn't give a second-round pick for this kid. A few years ago, he threw 27 touchdowns and 2 or 3 picks in the season. This guy's no scrub. I would love to have him in Miami. I'd give a second-round pick because he's better than anything we got or going to get this year coming up. This kid's worse. He's shown that he can get it done on the biggest stage of all, Chris, and this isn't like this is just something. He threw 27 touchdowns and had 2 or 3 picks a few years ago for Philly when they made the playoffs. Come on, this kid's got. How old is he, Chris? 29.
Yeah, again, I don't think they're going to trade him unless you really blow him away, and I don't think a second-round pick would do that, even if Miami had opted to do so. I just think that it's almost like you're upsetting the apple cart. I just don't think that they're going to take that. You almost toying with the football gods. It's bad karma. I mean, it really is. Now, I know sometimes these organizations don't look at it that way, but I mean, and maybe sometimes they should. They hang on to these players too long, strike when the iron's hot. But for a franchise, this is an exception. 55, 58 years, hadn't won a championship. In a town that was dying for one, thirsted for one in the worst way. Guy came out of nowhere to do it for you. He played great in the 2 games. You got the starting quarterback had a major injury. Who knows how he's going to be in week 1 of 2018. All of a sudden deal him, and then Wentz isn't ready. He's rusty. He's this, he's that. I just don't think it's the right play. I know the second-round pick would be enticing, but I don't think it's the right play. Huck in Missouri says hello. Huck, welcome. How are you today? What do you have?
Doing pretty good, man. It's always great to follow my man Mike there, my buddy there. So I got a couple of questions before I get to Bellichick. Now, it was the 87 playoffs. The 49ers lost to the Vikings. Montana played not so well. Walsh goes with Young in the second half. Young plays well, almost brings them back.
Well, he had a big scramble in that game, which is a huge play. But go ahead, fire away.
Now, Walsh considered and almost done away with Montana to go with Young, and it was Mike Holmgren, I believe, that talked him out of it. Is that right?
I'd have to go back and look at that. It is 30 years ago. It sounds familiar, but I'm not exactly sure if Holmgren, I'm not sure how close Walsh got to trading Montana and going with Young. Obviously, they did that eventually. I don't know if it was right after that game. I know Montana didn't like being benched. Now, Young went in there and played well in that particular game. They lost, but he went in there and played really well in the game. But I don't know if it got to the point that off season where Walsh had to be talked out of trading Montana. That I can't tell you.
Okay, well, I thought I'd seen that Football Life on Bill Walsh, and it came up, and I was almost pretty sure that Bill Holmgren.
You might be right. You might be right. You might be right.
Now, that goes into Bellichick. Now, as great as Walsh was, he was willing to listen to his coaches, willing to listen to his assistants. I wonder if Patricia would have went to Bill in the second quarter or in halftime and said, listen, Bill, I know you're the coach, you're the boss, but I'm just giving my 2 cents. If we don't put Butler in this game, we're going to lose. Would Belichick listen to Patricia and say, you know what, you may be right. Let's give him a shot. Do you think Bill, his ego would allow him to do that?
That's a very good question. I don't have the answer for you. I would think he would have taken a suggestion. I think the first thing is, would Patricia have the nerve to tell him that's what he should do? And then the second theme is, would Belichick listen to him and take it the right way? You're asking me a 2-part deal there. That is very, very difficult for me to answer. That's a very good question, Huck. I don't know what the relationship between the two of them is. You and I and everybody know we're not part of that staff to know what give and take is done on game day. During the week, different story. I'm assuming that Patricia was on board. You're suggesting if he had gone to Belichick in the course of that game, maybe at halftime, that long 30-minute halftime, Bill, let's put the kid in the game. Let's see what he's got. Did Patricia suggest that? Did he think that? And what did Belichick do with that particular suggestion? Can't answer it. It's a good question. 9 in front of the hour. Mad Dog Unleashed.
At UFC 2.